fewer than a quarter of Brits now say that the EU's demands in these Brexit negotiations are fair and reasonable. A critical statistic, given that we're approaching the end of the transition period, and whilst mainstream media may swallow everything that the EU says, it seems that the British people do not. We're going to dive into all the very latest on this, but as ever, if you could please start by giving this video a big thumbs up, click subscribe and the bell so you don't miss future reports. I'd really appreciate it. Yes, this coming from a Sun on Sunday report, a story that includes a YouGov poll. Boris Johnson winning public support, the Sun report, in his gruelling battle to secure a post-Brexit trade deal. This is according to a YouGov poll. Most people want him to succeed and believe his demands are fair and modest. The biggest cause of the deadlock is the intransigence of Brussels bureaucrats led by Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier. An exclusive YouGov poll for the Sun on Sunday shows. And what the breakdown shows is really interesting, is that when you ask people, what do you think of what the EU side is asking for? 45% of Brits say it's unfair and unreasonable what they're asking for. And only 24% say that what the European Union is asking for in these negotiations is fair and reasonable. 31% saying they don't know. And given, if you've seen my other reports, that some estimates now for the likelihood of no deal are as high as 80%, while the media may buy into the EU's side of the story, and we've seen this before unquestionably, they sort of swallow the EU lines wholesale. The British people clearly there are not buying it. Again, just 24% of Brits, according to this YouGov poll reported in the Sun on Sunday, think that what the EU is asking for is fair and reasonable. 45% say unfair and unreasonable. Of course, that includes things like a fisheries, something close to the status quo that's obviously decimated the British fishing industry, and it includes their insistence on this so-called level playing field. I point this out a lot, don't I? But isn't it funny that the EU and Remainers who say there's no benefits to Brexit, it's funny that the EU side want to sign the UK up to the same level, so-called level playing field. Clearly afraid of Brexit competitive advantage. But it's an interesting backdrop into the British public mood as we head towards, it looks like, no deal looking increasingly likely. The British people clearly there do not think that the EU is being reasonable in its demands in these negotiations. Another question in this poll was on whether people thought Boris Johnson would actually carry out his threat to break part of the withdrawal agreement. Of course, we saw this through the UK Internal Market Bill. Now, the British public clearly buying into Boris overriding elements of the agreement. 53% of Brits saying yes, they believe that Boris Johnson would do this. 24%, so it's the same percentage as think the EU is being fair and reasonable. 24% saying it's only a negotiating tactic, and 20% don't know. So, again, the majority of Brits believing that in terms of overriding elements of the withdrawal agreement, Boris Johnson is serious about it. Former Brexit Minister David Jones has been quoted in this story saying, "This poll shows people have noticed the EU has not been negotiating in good faith." He goes on to say it's entirely reasonable that the government should move to look after the national interest in the event the EU fails to live up to its obligations. Now, a second story in the Sunday Express, which I think you might find interesting, gives a backdrop into these negotiations. Brexit War erupts, the Express report, as Frost tells Barnier hands off Channel Tunnel, blatant power grab. The European Union reportedly has been told to keep its hands off the Channel Tunnel after Brussels attempted a power grab over the link between England and France. The late move by Michel Barnier's negotiating team has been seen as a Trojan horse to impose EU jurisdiction over British territory, which could also be used to block trade deals with other countries. In a response from a UK government, a spokeswoman told the Sunday Express on this story, "We have put in place a number of robust measures to ensure critical services continue through the Channel Tunnel at the end of the transition period, and we are now in discussions with France to agree long-term arrangements that will give operators long-term certainty." And of course, an opinion piece as well in the Sunday Express from Ben Habib, former Brexit Party MEP, who has been on this channel before. Ben Habib, along with Jonathan Saxty, with a piece. It's basically saying that Boris has lost control and given power to the EU in the Brexit fight. They give him credit. They say that Boris Johnson was brave to bring forward the UK internal market bill. But as I've highlighted on this channel before, that they point out, sadly, he seems to have blinked at the first sign of parliamentary trouble, apparently agreeing that the new act would not be brought into action without a further ruling in Parliament. And this, of course, after some Remainer rebels, which of course we saw 30 Conservative MPs abstain on that second reading of the UK internal market bill. We saw 2 Conservative MPs vote against it. What Boris Johnson and the government have effectively conceded is to give MPs a veto in Parliament. Now, I know what a lot of people say. They'll say, well, Boris Johnson's got a big majority. He doesn't need to worry about that. But just remember the carnage of the last Parliament. Yes, it was a different Parliament. But if the government sought to move forward with aspects of the UK internal market bill to override the withdrawal agreement, and MPs vetoed that, I mean, that would potentially be a self-inflicted wound by the government on ground they didn't need to concede so early. Ben Habib and Jonathan Saxty's piece in the Sunday Express making the point that blinking the first time the bill passed through the Commons suggests strongly the Prime Minister is not ready for such a battle. So there are critical voices out there about what Boris Johnson has done and the government on this, but I think it's important to highlight, as we increasingly look like the EU are not going to get real, they're not going to drop their demands for the level playing field, and they're not going to back down on trying to maintain something close to what we have now on fisheries, which would be completely unacceptable. That actually, if you look at the breakdown of what the British people think of what the EU is asking for, as I say, repeat it again, because you won't hear this in mainstream media, you won't hear this on TV news, I'm sure. 45% of the British people think the EU are being unfair and unreasonable, and only 24% say fair and reasonable. 31% don't know. That's quite a lot of people. And potentially, as we get close to the end of the transition period, we may see more and more people paying more close attention to what exactly is going on. I, of course, as I'm sure you do, hope that the government do not back down, do not sell out, and do not blink. And to be fair, everything that David Frost, Frosty the No Man, Lord Frost has done and said has been absolutely spot on all the way through. The indications are the government can see the prize. They can see that getting outside of the EU's orbit of control on areas like state aid will give the UK huge competitive advantage. So we hope, of course, that they stand strong. And as I say, only 24% of Brits think the EU's demands on things like the level playing field and their overall demands in this YouGov poll for The Sun on Sunday are fair and reasonable, so less than a quarter. I hope the government look at that. I hope they realise where the public are on this. But as ever, guys, I'd love to hear what you think about this, what you think about these other stories and comments today. Where do you think we're going to end up on Brexit? And what do you make of the EU's behaviour and negotiating stance? Do you think they're going to come to their senses, or do you think they're going to continue with their hardline approach? I know many of you want us to walk away now, but please let me know what you think about all the very latest that we've reported today. And as ever, guys, thanks a lot for supporting the channel. We're really going very, very quickly now. So remember to click subscribe, click thumbs up, and click the bell when you subscribe so you don't miss future reports. I'm doing videos now almost on a daily basis, so I don't want you to miss future reports. I'm going to be doing lots more content as we really ramp up and give you that alternative to mainstream media you guys are telling me that you're enjoying and that you want. Thanks for watching as ever, and have a great day.